Yeah.
Do I look at you or the camera?
Hi, I'm Michael Gibson. Welcome to a special morning edition of the Manhattans Project from 10th Magnitude. I'm joined here by Alex Brown, our CEO extraordinaire. We're recording this a little bit too early to use Manhattans for our usual discussion about cloud services, technology, Microsoft Azure, and whatever else comes up. But we substituted with some coffee. So we're going to be discussing Microsoft and Red Hat. This is something that came out this morning.
Yeah,
everyone's incredibly excited about it.
Super exciting. Essentially, they announced today that Red Hat will now be a supported Linux distribution on Azure. So it joins CentOS, it joins SUSE, and it joins Ubuntu, which were the three distributions that were previously and remain supported on Azure. So the great news is for our large enterprise customers, Red Hat is probably the largest installed base of installed Linux distribution that we've run into as we've been working with our large enterprise customers through our data center modernization practice to help them assess how can they move out of a on-prem world into the cloud world, into the hybrid world, and Red Hat is obviously a huge player there. So we worked recently with a large enterprise customer in the Chicago area who asked us to come in and assess their readiness to move from a fully on-prem world into a hybrid Azure and on-prem world. Okay. So we conducted our standard cloud readiness assessment engagement to gather data, statistics, cost model, technical readiness for the workloads that they're running and what we could move into Azure for them. So as I was going through the data this morning, I saw that 31% of the workloads we ran into for this customer were Red Hat. And guess what? We ran that big roadblock 2 months ago when we presented them with this data. We said, well, here, with 31% of your workloads, we can't move into Azure. They're going to have to stay on-prem. Well, I was very happy to be able to make the call today to the CIO of this account and say, good news, the 31% we were blocked on, they can now move. So it's kind of enlivened that entire process, and they're now trying to move ahead now as quickly as possible because it's opened up such a huge portion of their installed base that we can now move into Azure. If you think about where Azure is today, so Azure was already an extremely open and heterogeneous platform. So about 25%, before today, about 25% of the VMs running in Azure were open source.
Yeah, they talked a lot about that in AzureCon.
Correct.
This year. Like
yes.
that was part of the keynote, like 1 in 4 VMs were running on some sort of Linux or open source OS.
Exactly.
So how does this sort of affect customers who may have considered Azure but hadn't quite taken the jump yet? From maybe they weren't even using Red Hat. How does this influence their decision?
So I think it influences them for a number of reasons. This is yet another in a very clear pattern of announcements that Microsoft has made about the openness and the breadth of the platform.
What sort of trends or adjustments or talking points do you think may have helped lead to this agreement between Microsoft and Red Hat? I know this has been a long time coming, but what has been sort of the impetus behind it? Is it just because there's so much open source in Azure?
I think it's a win-win for both organizations, so I think what you're seeing is two organizations that in the past that struggled to collaborate well because I don't believe they thought their joint goals were at all aligned. I think now what this agreement demonstrates is, in fact, the open source leader and the public cloud leaders see that their fates and their ability to win together is huge, and so whereas before they may have not seen a joint opportunity, now they see big opportunities. See the pattern very clearly with the pattern with Red Hat, the announcements coming out of AzureCon around Mesos, and Docker and the other Linux distributions and .NET going open source. I mean, man, this is like dogs and cats sleeping together. This is really, really groundbreaking stuff.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sitting down with me. I feel like I know a little bit more about it. Hopefully everyone else knows a little bit more about it, and we're going to learn more as we move forward. So thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.